All right, welcome everyone to this week's first Power Forum of the week. We actually have two, and I am so happy to have all of you here. We are so glad to have Johnson and Broderick Young of Reveal Wealth joining us today, and they will kick us off with a incredible session that is going to teach us how to become more confident in our financials as we are heading on a pathway for success. So just a little bit of background about Al and Broderick. They're from Maryland. They're Maryland-based financial planning and wealth management organization, and they support clients across the United States. Collectively, they have over 35 years of experience in the financial services industry, and they decided to create their own practice in January 2020. So they have been recognized by Forbes as the fifth best financial securities professionals in the state of Maryland. So I say all this to say you are in good hands, and I'll let the two of them take it away.
Thank you, Alyssa. It's first and foremost, it's our pleasure to be here. I am going to share my screen. But as you mentioned, my name is Al Johnson, one of the founders and financial advisors at Reveal Wealth. And I'm joined by my brother Broderick Young. We're just happy to be here with the group, and hopefully we can bring a lot of value and begin to give you some of the tools and some of the ideas, or at least some of the steps that you need to build that financial confidence within your personal lives, but of course your professional lives in your business as well. This is going to be one of the first, hopefully, sessions that we have for you all. This one is going to, I think, contain some general information that we can, again, provide for you. And then our goal is to dig a little deeper as we continue to grow with the group and get into different and more specific topics for you and your financial wellness along your financial journey. But as you said, we are Reveal Wealth. Our mission is very simple. We want to reveal the strategies and financial tools that have been used throughout history to protect, accumulate, and ultimately distribute wealth. When we started our firm, we wanted to make sure that we were bringing forth qualified professionals that were able to bring forth quality solutions to the communities, the businesses, the marketplaces that we serve. So we'll share some more information later, but you can definitely visit us at www.werevealwealth.com. And as Alyssa alluded to, thankfully, 2024, the news has just been released. We've again been rated as the best in the state, top financial security professionals by Forbes magazine in the state of Maryland. Both of us are top 10 in the state, something that we're proud of, and that we, of course, want everyone to know about. Our commitment for you all for today is again to provide sound financial information. We want to begin to help you bring clarity and ultimately help you identify your own goals, right? Again, for your professional lives, your businesses, as well for your personal, because what we find in working with business owners on a day-to-day basis is that a lot of times those things intersect each other. Whether we know it or not. So it's very important for us to make sure that we have a keen idea of where we want to go and we develop some strategies to get there. And as, of course, as partners with BCPA, we also want to make sure that everyone is offered a no obligation complimentary initial consultation to get an idea of where you are within your business and begin to get to know each other a little better. So I've said a lot. Brad, do you want to add anything to that, my brother?
You broke it down. We can keep it moving. We're happy to be here and look forward to working with as many of you as possible to help you reach your goals.
Perfect. So let's get it started and get to the next slide. Again, warm welcome. Happy to be here. Overview of the series. Like we said, we want to begin to bring forth some relevant subject matter for you all that we see financially savvy people doing in some of the areas that they're focused on as they grow their business. The objective of today's session, as I said before, is to get to know each other, right? For us to give you some tangible things to begin to think about as you start to put together your financial goals, your financial journey. And we want to make sure that we're giving you some actionable steps as well to get started. And ultimately, we'll end with a Q&A. Everyone's situation is different. And whether we're working with individuals, whether we're working with business owners, whether we're working with institutions, we want to make sure that we are customizing strategies that fit your individual needs, right? Because everyone's situation is different. One of the things that you'll hear us continuously say is everything starts with the conversation, right? We want to make sure that we're having that dialogue, having that conversation, and ultimately everything should end with a plan, right? But it starts with that conversation. So, any
And I see
questions
that
that you have later? Go ahead,
I
bro.
see we have the chat moving. So don't feel as if you need to wait to the end if you have a question. Go ahead and get that in the chat as we go along. We might be able to address it then, but we do want to make sure that if it's on the top of your brain that you don't forget about it. We will definitely address it. Just drop it in the chat and we'll get to that. And it's great to see everybody, Dallas, Texas, Mitchellville, Curacao. There's a North Sea Jazz Festival in Curacao. We might have to check that out, Al.
Okay. Now that's perfect. Thanks for that, Brad. So what are we talking about today? Financial confidence. What is financial confidence? In our mind, financial confidence is a mindset, right? That definitely includes financial literacy. Financial literacy is going to allow you to make confident financial decisions for yourselves, for your families, for your business. One of the things that you'll see that there on the slide, and hopefully one of the value adds that we can bring to the organization is we want to give you the information that's proven to have a high probability of success. As Alyssa mentioned, we've both collectively been in the financial services industry for 35 years, as for over 35 years. And the one thing that we can say is that success, and you've heard this before, leaves clues, right? But financial success also leaves clues. A lot of times it comes in terms of the strategies and the things that we're doing that we've seen work, right? And that financial savvy people have done. Brad, I know you have a lot to say about the Instagram society that we're living in. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, so everybody's situation is a little different, and we live in a soundbite environment where
Hmm.
people get questions, people get answers in 3 minutes. And as we all know, your life is generally a little bit more complicated than 3 minutes. So as you all are business owners, you probably know it's not as simple as opening up an LLC, going to a bank, and then that bank is just going to magically give you some money so you can go out and buy 752 pieces of property and start your business, right? It's not that simple. So there's some things that we have to do first in order to prepare ourselves to get into this business space as powerful as possible so that we can achieve the dreams that we want to achieve. And those are the things that we want to work with individuals on to put them on the path to financial success.
And you bring up a good point, Brad. One of the things that we always talk about is the difference between saving, investing, and gambling. And we can, talk about that for a very long time. But really, I think what it financial confidence allows you to do is have the knowledge that's necessary because as we see here, increased resilience, right, during economic downturns. Those things happen, right? But how do we respond? Do we understand the psychology behind making financial decisions and the psychology of investing in money in general, right? So one of the things that we do is help individuals have that confidence. And one of the main things that everyone should do is build a financial support team. Right. And financial support teams come in a lot of different forms, right? We're financial advisors. We're wealth managers. We do financial planning. We're both registered Series 6, 7, so on and so forth, investment advisor representatives. So we have a very good feel and a good understanding of what's going on in the financial markets. But we understand that successful people need other team members as well. So you're going to need an accountant. You're going to need a strong accountant. You're going to need an estate planning consultant. You're going to need some tax compliance officers, right? And it takes a team to make sure that you're on the right track. And hopefully, you choose the right professionals with the certifications that have been around for a very long time, and individuals that are not going to just, again, see everything through one lens, right? One of the things that my brother always talks about, and is so true, it's not about or, right? It's about and, how do things work together and the different strategies that you can have within your business and within your finances. Brad, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, you also want to make sure that your team is communicating with one another because when you're properly put together and you're building out what your financial success begins to look like and have confidence. I think it was on the previous side where it said, you can prepare for downturns. Sometimes downturns are the best time to take advantage of opportunities.
That's right.
And if you're properly structured and you have your things in order, you can take advantage of things when others are running away from them in areas where you can capitalize and begin to grow exponentially. But you want to make sure that your team is willing to communicate with one another and that they're working in what's your best interest moving forward.
That's right. Thank you. So how do we get started, right? Step one, and as we'll go over today, but a lot of these things or a lot of these steps that you have to do and need to do within your financial life are some of the things that we have done in our personal life and especially as a business owner as well. But, it's very hard to get to a destination if we don't know where we're going. Right. So one of the things that we work with our clients on is, again, bringing that clarity to your situation, figuring out number one, where you are, but most importantly, where do we want to get to and how does that look, right? So it starts with assessing your current financial position. And this is one of the steps that a lot of people have trouble with because sometimes they don't know, sometimes they don't want to know. Right. But it's important to know where you are. So it starts with understanding your financial statements, basic things, your balance sheets, your income statement. What does your cash flow look like? Right? Is your cash flow consistent? Right? Do you have a P&L? And then, once we understand those things or begin to look at that, that begins to build the foundation of an overall good plan. So, along with that comes measuring liquidity solvency. How long can your business last if some of those contracts don't come through? Right? Do we have enough to consistently make payroll? What do we do if we get into a bind, right? And we don't have the liquidity and stability that we need to keep things moving. So we really need to look at things from a actual standpoint, but also from a risk management standpoint to make sure that you can deal with the ebbs and the flows as they ultimately come.
And you see
Take
some ratios there. What those ratios will allow you to do, they're formulas, but it just allows you to get a snapshot of where am I as far as solvency goes? Can I meet the obligations that I have coming up in the next month, 2 months, 3 months, the next year? Should I begin trying to find more capital? Should that be debt? Should that be equity? You want to measure that ratio because you don't want to get overextended. You
That's
don't want
right.
to get to a point where you can't meet the obligations that you have coming. So you want to measure those things. As Al said, the first thing your GPS requests of you is where are you right now? Right? And before it can get you to where you want to go, it needs to know where are you right now. So if we can figure out where we are right now, it definitely, and these ratios give you an idea of where you are right now, so you can get a better idea of where we need to be moving in the future.
That's right. So once we do that initial assessment, then we can begin to create a plan, right? You all are in the technology, business to technology field. We work with different softwares, probably some of the same software that you work with. But one of the things that we've always heard is garbage in, garbage out, right? So with that initial assessment, we want to take time to make sure that we're digging through the statements, that we're, putting the right pieces in place, so we can get some accurate information and then begin to create that plan. So after we do the initial assessment, of course, then we want to begin to set your financial goals. This one's very, very, very important. Understanding the goal type doesn't only exist when it comes to, again, your business. It exists with your finances as well. Short-term obligations, long-term obligations, different asset allocation models. Those are really going to be determined by how fast do you need to access this money, right? What does your cash flow look like? Again, we want to make sure that we don't have too much cash on the balance sheet that's not working for you. But in the same vein, we want to make sure that we have enough, right, for those different types of downturns. But understanding what the short-term goals as well as the long-term goals from an investment standpoint can help us really put together and begin to set forth those financial goals. SMART goals, right? Of course, we wanted to be specific, measurable, attainable, achievable, and relevant, and time bound, right? And we want to put time limits on there. So, example that they give there, we want to increase our sales by 20%. How soon do we want to do that? Within the next 6 months? How do we want to do that? By starting a marketing campaign, whatever the case may be. But we want to make sure that we not only lay out goals, but that they're SMART goals, personal, business, or both. Again, your business and your personal, sometimes and very often they merge, right? So we have to put yourselves in a position to understand that they merge and some point at some time begin to manage the two. One of the things that we see quite often, and we've always heard it, is don't put all of your eggs in one basket, right? I don't know many people that do that better or worse, right, than business owners. As you already understand, you've put your blood, sweat, tears, equity, um, both figuratively and literally into your business. And we understand that that's your baby, right? But we've got to diversify and make sure that we're doing some things outside of the business. So again, if all of those goals, if all of those plans, all of those dreams don't come to fruition right away, we've got another basket to pull from. Brian, what are your thoughts on that, man?
This is a great time because I'm monitoring the chat also, and I'm glad we're in tune. When it comes to personal business or both, I think Frank Valdivieso put in the chat, is anybody using profit first methodology in their business? And profit first methodology reminds me a lot of what my dad used to tell me to do when I was coming up and started making some money. He said, you always pay yourself first, right? Then you figure out what you're going to spend. And profit first methodology, it's a little bit more detailed than that, but at its core, as money comes in, you set aside some money for yourself, some profit first. Then you determine, okay, how much equipment are we going to buy? How much of this are we going to buy? So you always have a level of revenue for yourself that's been set aside. And then I would take it to the next step. Once you set that money aside and it gets to be to a certain level, then you can start putting it in places where it can begin making you more money. So a lot of the things that are successful within your business as far as managing and growing can also be successful in your personal life. And there's also some things as business owners that, there are some benefits that you may want to maintain via the business. And there's some benefits to you having some things outside of the business that aren't attached to business creditors, business predators, things of that such. So as I was saying, we may want to look at diversifying where assets and revenues go, understanding that the best bang for your buck is going to be reinvesting dollars back into the business. However, proper diversification and preparation knows that we need to get some money outside because if something happens and business needs to slow down, we need something to buffer so we can weather those storms.
That's right. So perfect. And at the end of the day, right, we can talk about all of this until we turn blue in the face. But if we don't take action, then nothing happens, right? So, we've seen a lot of plans, a lot of dusty financial plans that people have brought to us that they might have had done in their previous life, but they never took any action to that plan, right? So a well laid out plan means nothing if not acted upon. I like to think that we do pretty well in getting folks to take action as well. So that's step two. And Brad, I'll let you flow into step three here, brother.
Yeah, so this is the B word, and a lot of people don't like the B word either way it goes. But whether you call it a budget or a spending plan, you have to have some idea or strategy for how you are spending money in your business. What's coming in, what needs to go out, and how can we increase the revenue? We're going to talk a little bit about cash flow. But it's very important that you get those things in line and get the individuals that are involved in your business to understand what the budget is. Because you may have certain people that on your dime they might want to fly first class, right?
Hmm.
But you could have got their coach and got there at the same time to accomplish the same needs. So you want to make sure that whatever the budgeting is, spending plan is for your organization, and a lot of these things, again, we're going to hear us repeat this, translates to your personal lives, right? So whatever those plans are, the parties involved all need to be on the same page, because the what we're trying to do is grow, right? Generate revenue, generate profits, so that those can make more revenue, make more profits. So we definitely want to make sure that we have a plan moving forward that allows for growth in your business, but also allows for sustainability. So, there's going to be some fixed costs that you need to take into consideration. Different times of year sometimes cause some variable expenses to go up. You think about your household holiday time, expenses usually go up a little bit. You want to account for those things so that you have a clear roadmap for where your business is going so that you can grab that success.
Absolutely.
So, cash flow. This is very important. I don't have to tell anybody on this line, your business owners, but we want to make sure that we're doing the things necessary to increase that cash flow coming into your business. So, identifying who are your best clientele, right?
Mm.
Who are the people that actually pay in 30 days? And who are the ones that say they're going to pay in 30 days, but you still waiting 180 days later, right? We need to identify what's going on with those individuals so that as we're moving forward, you can plan accordingly, right? Because you want to strategize to make sure that if you're holding on to inventory or there's a deliverable for each individual situation that you're working in, you want to make sure that you're properly staffed up. You want to make sure that you have the right amount of inventory to meet those needs. But on the other side, you don't want to be holding on to inventory for longer than you need to, right? Because there's an expense of holding on cost of goods. So cash flow management really is you stepping back to really look at your business. And I encourage you to work with somebody, get a second set, third set of eyes on that, because what we find is in many businesses, 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of the clientele. And sometimes we're trying to divide our time up in our business equitably amongst all parties, when in reality, that 20% is who we really need to be focusing our time on. Because if we do correctly there, that 20% is going to generate us more cash flow moving forward so we can grow out and find more people like that 20%. So cash flow, you can use, QuickBooks, Zero, those type of things are out there for you to look at what's coming in, what's coming out. But I would tell you to be a hawk at looking at what the cash flow is for your business so that you can continue to be solvent and grow in the future.
Yeah, so I'll add one thing to that, Brad, and I think one of the things that can be beneficial to everyone, if you haven't done it yet, going back to that 20%, the 80-20 rule, is to run that revenue report, right? That's one of the things that as business owners we do each and every year. But you definitely should be able to do it in your business. Who are your biggest contracts? Where is that coming from? What industry is it coming from? So on and so forth, as it pertains to your specific business. But once you get focused, once you have that revenue report in front of you, once you know who your A clients are, that can assist you and will assist you in figuring out that cash flow and bringing forth that cash flow management, so on and so forth. So it's definitely crucial to know those metrics. And like Brad said, be a hawk on those metrics as you continue to grow. So as a piggyback to cash flow, right, we've got to figure out how to access and manage our debt. Number one, do we have any debt? It would really, well, maybe not surprise you, but it always surprises me, and us when we're working with clients and they have debt, but really don't understand the terms of the debt. They don't understand the interest rates that they're paying on debt. And a lot of times, just having that knowledge and coming up with simple strategies can save you tons of money, right? But how much of the debt is out there? What type of debt is it? Is secured? It is it unsecured? Do we have lines of credits? Do we need to utilize one source of funding to pay off another source of funding to open up or eliminate some of those interest rate costs, so on and so forth. So these are some of the conversations that you can begin to have once you again assess where you are and know where you're going in the future. So basic stuff, good debt versus bad debt, really breaks down to assets or liability. Is it an asset? Is it bringing money into your business, or is it sending money out of your business, right? Is it hindering that cash flow? Do we need to reorganize some of that debt, right? Ideally, we want to implement some strategies where we can lower our debt to income ratio below 30%. And again, prioritize and focus on high interest debt repayment. Interest is one of the biggest killers out there, right? Of course, it's going to benefit you on the front end when we're talking about compounding interest within your portfolio, compounding interest in your assets. But on the other side, if we're paying interest, it can be a big killer. Interest and taxes, right? They kind of go hand in hand. So, again, once we understand and we begin to manage and come up with strategies, those are one of the things that we need to focus on. But how do we get there? Again, digging deep, reviewing your statements, have an analysis of what's going on, and then kind of go from there. Brad, do you have thoughts on that one?
I always lean into, because we get the question, what is good debt? What is bad debt? And it's on the slide. But, when you think about it, good debt can be considered anything if you're borrowing and it's going to make you more money, right? So when you're doing the analysis of it, um, and I'll use education because I think education is one of the greatest examples of how something that could be good debt could actually be bad debt if you don't do the right cost benefit analysis, right? So if you end up paying $350,000 for education and God bless them, but you want to be an elementary school teacher, that probably isn't good debt, right? Because you're not going to earn the amount of money necessary to service that debt load. But if you went to junior college for 2 years, then went to a state school and you came out of school with $5,000 to go be a teacher, hey, that's good debt, right? So you definitely want to run an analysis, preferably be as objective as possible when you're looking at taking on debt. There's some obvious things that are bad debt. I don't think we need to go into that. But if you're looking at, again, investing back into your business, when you're looking at borrowing, really run the analysis of, am I borrowing to net me out growth? Or is this me borrowing, speculating that there will be growth and there's risk to that debt where it could become bad debt?
Yep. So, another thing that we always talk to our clients about, and I know we're just getting to know each other, but whether you all know it or not, we're family, right? So we're going to talk to y'all, just like we talk to our family. And one of the things that we run into a lot is individuals, what we call hustling backwards, right? And everybody kind of knows what that means, or, some similarity to that. And basically, what that means is if you're working with an advisor, you're working with someone, and you have a credit card, you have debt out there, and I'm speaking primarily personal, but it can be business as well, and you're paying 17, 22% interest, but they're talking to you about investing rather than paying down that debt. That's an issue, right? Simply because there are no tools, to my knowledge right now, that can give you or that will give you a guaranteed rate of return that's 17, 22%,
And
right?
if
So
somebody tells you that that tool is out there, don't walk away from them. Run away from them.
that's right.
It's not out there.
Nope.
We had one of our junior associates had a person ask him, where can I put some money where I can earn 15% in 3 months? And I told him, go to the casino. I mean, that's your best bet, because that is not out there. It just doesn't exist. Don't allow people to convince you of those types of things.
That's right. Yep. So we got to, make sure that, again, we're not hustling backwards. If there are albatross situations where we'll be able to, pay down some debt while allowing your money to work for you in different ways as well, we can do that. We can let you know, but, definitely have to make sure that you're assessing and managing that debt. So once that's done, right, then we can start to build the financial cushion, right? Build a nest egg. One of the things that we want to make sure is that we have a certain amount of liquidity, for a rainy day, and that starts with saving. Right, to have that financial safety net. So again, if something goes wrong, we don't have to break into our investments. We don't have to start gambling, in order to recoup or to catch up, so to speak, right? If we start in the right place, everything begins to work itself out. So figuring out how much do you need to save, right?
And the proper cushion allows you to grow.
That's
Everybody
right.
remembers the pandemic, 2020, right? Um,
Mhm.
if you really remember, January and February were great if we were looking at markets, right? Everything was humming. And then March 9th, world shut down, market crashed. Okay. Businesses stopped, everything got held up. For the people who had the money to weather that storm and not have to go into other investments, God forbid they have money to actually deploy and take advantage of that situation. Speaking of the stock market in general, the market went down by roughly, I think it was about 30% of a
30,
dip,
yeah,
but it finished the year up 16%. So the people who had to withdraw money because they didn't have the proper cushion, they lost 30% of their money because they didn't have the proper cushion.
that's
The
right.
people that had the proper cushion at least were able to let it stay there and earn 16%. The people who were properly capitalized and had money sitting some places to deploy during times of turmoil, they were able to invest at a negative 30. And by the end of the year, they were up positive 16. You almost made 50% on your money because you were properly structured.
That's right.
So I don't think people really understand the real power of having that cushion. That cushion will allow you to take advantage of opportunities where you can really turbocharge money, but you got to have it there, at the appropriate time. And I get it. It's boring watching it be there, but when it's important, it's really important.
That's right. So, yeah, that emergency fund, having that cushion, um, spells out really just one word, and we like to use it a lot with our clients. And it's what we want everyone to have. It's options, right? You want to be able to have options when those opportunities arise, when change comes, because we know it's going to be inevitable, or we know it is inevitable. But when those opportunities come up, when those things come around that allow you to take advantage of, the situation at hand, you want to have those options, and be able to do that. So, baseline, and everyone's situation again is different. You want to aim to save at least 3 to 6 months worth of operating expenses. You want to be able to cover payroll. You want to be able to cover rent, other essential costs, when those unforeseen circumstances that can come and will come. You want to be able to make sure that you can keep moving. But how do you do it, right? Start by setting aside a small percentage of monthly revenue each and every month. We want to talk about automation. Automation is a phenomenal thing, and continue to review those goals, those savings goals, the investment goals, so on and so forth. So that's a first step to start. Once we get those basics out of the way, and everyone is in a different place within their business. And of course, we'd love to learn more about you, about your business, and figure out, where you are. But I think one of the things that most people want to do is they want to grow. A lot of different ways to go about it. Of course, if you are in a position where you want to not become public, so on and so forth, but maybe sell some shares of the business for equity funding, or building up some equity rounds. That's of course one of the ways you can do it. One of the cons, if one of the only cons, is it's going to dilute ownership, right? And depending on your situation, could make decision making a little tougher, because you're not the only one necessarily making those decisions. You got to make some other folks happy, as well. Of course, debt funding, loans, credit, things of that nature. But of course, those things must be repaid with interest, just like we spoke about. But it goes back in figuring out what's the risk, what's the reward, is it good debt, bad debt, and is it really going to fund your business growth, to the point where you're going to be able to increase revenue, right? And continue to grow. Then, of course, there's internal funding. If you have the ability to be in that position, that you can do that, taking off or peeling off a portion of those profits, each and every month, each and every quarter, to continue to look into the growth of your business is never a bad thing, as well. Brian, anything you want to add there?
No, I was pretty thorough there, man. When it's
Okay.
time to just get money, you definitely want to consider all three of these options. And depending on where you're trying to grow, the equity funding, as Al says, not a bad thing. You can always maintain majority share, so you have the final say so. But that is a way to infuse money into your business, especially if you're looking to grow fast.
Perfect. Financial planning, like we said, financial planning or planning in general is everything. And it starts with those steps that we spoke of. First thing, you got to know where you are. You got to know where you want to go, and continue to monitor and access that information. And don't be scared of it, right? The situation is the situation. The only way to change it is to know what the situation is,
And
right?
the plan is not concrete, right? It's a
Thank you.
strategy. So as you see there, it's going to review, it's going to adjust, but it helps you get a better idea of where it is you need to go. I don't know if you have any runners on the call, but if you're trying to run a marathon, you usually have a strategy. You're going to run 3 miles this day, 4 miles that day, 3 miles, take a break, run your long day. You got a strategy, but sometimes you miss a day, right? Sometimes you not feeling as great. You can only get two in there. But you got to have a
Sometimes you
strategy, a
can
plan,
just smash the whole idea and say, hey, man, I ain't ready for this marathon. I'm going to run a half.
facts, but you're getting something done and you're moving forward
That's
with
right.
your plan.
That's right. That's right. Thanks for that, Brad. We don't have to tell you all this. There's technology out there that can enable you to automate all of this stuff. You know more about the tools than we do. So I'm going to stop there. We should be around 12:40, 12:45, and we can take some questions, or if there are some questions there in the chat. I think Brad's been monitoring that, or maybe Luis. Any questions in there? Able to get in the chat. Let's see.
Um, Nope, we don't have any questions in the chat. I don't know if you could come off mute. I'm not sure. Uh, bu- 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 bum, 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 bum. Bu- bu-
Well,
bum.
I have a question.
Just that.
What do you all, or I guess, what recommendations do you make for those of us who have, we're, solopreneurs, right? So it's just us. We're not necessarily looking to, you know, get a big office space or buy tons of new equipment or tooling, but still want to make sure that we're making the right investments and helping our business scale and grow. If you were to provide just advice on, what's the first thing we should consider? You've walked through a lot of stuff, and I thought, or a lot of great advice. I thought that one of the opportunities, what does that look like for someone who's a one-man band?
Yep. So again, I can start with that, and Brad can follow up.
And
But
we will
Alyssa,
touch on cash conversion cycle, but go ahead. I
oh,
see that
okay,
in the
you can
chat.
see that. Okay. But again, it's going to start with that conversation, right? And figuring out what that individual solopreneur's goals are, again, from a business standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint, because that's really all there is, right? There are options and tools that will enable that person to take advantage of some of the similar things that a big business would, like such as a solo 401k, right? Very easy to set up, very easy to begin that person on their investment journey. But again, taking advantage of some of the tax savings and the tools that are available out there for business owners without the cost that a big corporation or a big consultant firm would have, right? So, I think the first piece is, again, assess the situation, have the conversation, and then, work with a professional to give you an idea of what your options are, right? Because there are plentiful out there, but if you don't know, you just don't know,
The other
right?
thing I would do, and I encourage all solopreneurs, all young business owners, um, get yourself a board of directors, Alyssa, right? There's not a major corporation out here that's operating without a board, right? And believe it or not, you probably know 5 to 7 people in your cell phone right now about out of those 4,000 contacts you got in there. There's 5 to 7 in there that you think to yourself, you know what? If I was starting a business, I would want them on my team, right? Now, you might not be able to pay them now, but that's okay because I'm willing to bet you those 5 to 7 people, they're probably relatively successful, okay? And one thing going on with human nature is after you reach a level of, I say, comfort, and then there's that level of, I'm really comfortable, you start to say to yourself, how can I be impactful, right? How can I help? How can I be significant? How can I help somebody? So for you to pick up the phone call and tell them, hey, look, I need an hour of your time once a quarter. I'm gonna get you some breakfast. Do it in the morning. Breakfast is cheaper than lunch and dinner. Nobody drinking a lot at breakfast, right? So get them some breakfast. And I want to sit down and go through you what I'm doing in my business, how I'm growing my business, and I want your help. I want your tutelage. You're one of the most successful individuals I know. Tell me where I need to go, and I am willing to bet you those people will pour into you. Okay. And what they're going to do is they're going to help shorten your bridge, right? There's always that bridge from start to success. And all we're trying to do is shorten the bridge. How can we get that bridge as short as possible to get over that board of directors will help you shorten that bridge. They're going to tell you people to talk to. They may open up different opportunities that you didn't know about. They might know that person who can get you said contract so that you can begin to get the revenue up. Once the revenue starts to get up, I would encourage you to staff up, but staff up strategically, right? Find that person that enjoys doing the stuff that you don't want to do, that does not generate you revenue, right? That's the first person you want. So, who can do this data entry? Who can get my invoices out quicker? Because I need to be client facing. I need to be doing whatever it is I'm doing, right? That's generating this revenue. I'm tired of being up 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning getting these invoices together, knowing I got to be client facing at 8 a.m., but that's the time I got to do it as the solo business owner. So, number one, get yourself a board of directors. Number two, staff up once cash flow gets there, right? Cash conversion cycle. Cash conversion cycle is you need to make a decision on, okay, and I'll give you an example. We got a project coming up and I need 150 widgets. I got, and widgets cost $100 each. So, that's $15,000 I got to figure out to get these 150 widgets. Yet I got $15,050 in my bank account, right? Cash conversion says, I need to spend this cash to get those widgets to convert it into more cash. How long is that going to take? What is that cycle? Because if that cycle is too long and I know I have an obligation that I need to meet at a $3,000 mark within the next 30 days, but it's going to take 60 days for me to convert these widgets, I might only want to buy half the widgets right now, convert that, meet my obligation, buy the other half on the back end, and keep it moving. So the cash conversion cycle is how long is it going to take me to convert whatever it is I'm spending the cash on into more cash.
So, Brian, going back to the board of directors comment that you were giving, Alyssa, I think that's probably some good information for Lawrence here, who's, speaks of he's done everything, right? Financial goals, pitch deck, business plan, second phase moving forward, but the investors are maybe not coming to the table like he needs them to do. I think that again comes with that conversation, right? So, do you have to be on a golf course to cut the right deals? I would say no, but it might not be a bad place. If the people that you need to speak with are on that golf course, it's probably not a bad place to be, right? But it goes back to reaching out to those individuals that have either done it, right, or the individuals that you may be looking for investment from, and having that conversation, letting them know where you are within your business, what you're looking to do within your business, and you'd be surprised what comes out of those relationships, because you are right. It's not about what you know all the time, but who you know, right? But a lot of our best clients came from us just sitting down with them and saying, hey, Mr. So and so, Mrs. So and so, we respect what you've done. Obviously, you're a great business person in your own regard. Would love to pull up on your ear and really get your idea about how we can better our business, how we can grow faster and scale, so on and so forth. But just having those conversations, and some amazing things can come out of that. Obi asks, can you shed more light on investment opportunities? So we see that the Feds might reduce interest rates in the short term. What are your perspectives on real estate, stocks, bonds, gold, and crypto? And before my brother says it, I'm going to say it. Yes. Right?
That was going to
Yeah.
be my answer.
I
Yes.
already knew that was going to be your
My
answer.
thought is yes.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Right. And what we mean by that, as we said before, we are not or people, right? Most of the successful individuals that we work with, they're and people. So they have real estate, they have a stock portfolio, they have fixed income within that portfolio. They may have a tiny slither or slither of their overall net worth allocated to crypto, right? So there are great opportunities out there and will continue to be great opportunities out there. But again, we don't want to, sound like a broken record. If from our eyes, it comes from a place of prudent planning, right? Where are you right now? Are you in a position where you need to have some type of crypto allocation? If we don't have our savings and we haven't done investing, chances are we probably don't want to be gambling, right? And when I say gambling in reference to crypto, simply because it's still new, it's still in its infant stages, right? What, probably we're around the
It's
15th to
about
16th year at this
it's
point.
about 16, 17 years old. And you know, I got a 16-year-old that I love dearly, but I'm darn sure not gonna put my whole retirement based on how she wake up in the morning. I'm just not gonna do it. So the answer is and that and comes in just determining in what proportion are you allocating monies to those things. And if I had to tell you, hey, you know, you got $1 million and you have choices of where you can put it. I got three choices that have proven throughout history that if you have the time frame to hold them, they got a 98% success rate. And then I got two choices that they're kind of new in the block. They got some potential, but we really don't know. That's the last million you ever gonna get. Where would you put it? I'm willing to bet you at the core of that portfolio would be those things that have had the track record of proven success, and you would build around it with the things that are speculative that have the opportunity to blow. You wouldn't do it the other way around, where you would put the lion's share in the speculative portion and a little bit in the things that have the track record for success. So most of the individuals, the wealthy individuals that we've interacted with, as my brother said, they own it all, man. They have business interests, they're business owners. They might have somebody in their house that has a W-2 job. They have investments, they have insurance, they have real estate, they may have some cryptocurrency, they might have some alternative investments. They have a little bit of it all, but the core of it is generally in assets that have the proven track records of success over time, and then there's a portion of their portfolios that they allocate towards more speculative things, because if those things happen to pop, you don't need as much invested in it, because if it does happen, it's going to be a windfall.
That's right. And it goes back to, again, what we spoke about before, figuring out the term, right? And that can help us point you to some of the right places. Is this a long-term investment? Is this money that we're setting aside for retirement? Is this money that we're ultimately going to need to touch in the next 6, 12, 18 months? That money's going to go in a different place. And may be more so in that bond market situation that you spoke of, or whatever the case may be. But we've got to determine, again, what's the strategy? How much money do I have? And that will help us determine where it should or shouldn't be allocated. And hopefully that answers the question. But that brings me to the next thing, and I see that Chanel, is doing some things between the Caribbean and Black community. Um, wants to contact us. So, Alyssa, if you can put our website in the chat, for some reason, it's not allowing me to. But we'll hopefully send out some more communication. But if you go to our website, there's a place where you can schedule a consultation with us to speak about your specific needs a little further, and then we can go from there. So I don't know whether Luis or Alyssa's there can stick that in the chat, because I can't. There we
I think
go.
I just did.
Oh, you did.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we're good. Um, any more questions? Anything? Nope. So, Alyssa, if you wanted to come back on and give us our further ado, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. So you recommend that everyone contact you via your website. We
Yep,
will
and we can
we'll
send
make
out a
sure.
link as well.
I'm sorry, say that one more
I
time.
said we can get you a link for you can email out, and they can just click on the
Yep.
link.
Yep, we'll send out a
Yep.
follow-up email after this session, but we thank all of you for joining today. And really, the two of you provided some incredible knowledge that I think is just valuable and sets the foundation. I know we are looking forward to partnering with you all over the next year or so, so that you can continually come back and share your wealth of knowledge with the community. We're really looking to be financially savvy as business owners, and the more we're able to do that, the more generational wealth we're able to build as a community. And I think we've talked about that over and over and over again, of how important that is. And you provided just a few tips today, and we know that there is much more to come. So thank you so
That's
much.
right.
um, as a close, I want to make a call out to all of those who are Dynamics partners. We have a special Power Forum that was just added last week, and it will be held tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. There is a special opportunity for you all to potentially join the Dynamics Communities event. And so when we talk about wealth building opportunities, that will be one of them, where you have a chance to network with companies who are anywhere from $3 million to over $1 billion, to go in on partner to partner opportunities at the Dynamics Communities event. So I'm going to drop the link here in the chat, And I look forward to seeing all of you who are Dynamics partners there. But again, thank you so much, Al and Broderick. We greatly appreciate you, and everyone be on the lookout for a survey after this event.
Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks,
You got
everyone.
it. Y'all
Thank
take
you.
Have a
care.
Take
great
care.
one.
Have a great one.